know, I'm still not used to having this be a wall instead of this being my usual tarp. It's very hard to get used to. I knew I shouldn't have tried going to that club. That place was filled with a bunch of weird people. Like, seriously, that was so weird. Maybe I should just focus on trying to make another video while I'm still in a productive phase. What the f***? They cut my hair too? You know, there's nothing really interesting coming out lately. It's hard to really think of something that we can talk about. We. Games make a lot of money, especially when they release right next to a console's launch. But the sales numbers go up even higher if said game is included with the console. Wii Sports is one of the best-selling video games of all time, and it's primarily because they crammed this as a bundle with nearly every Wii. Iconic video games don't come around super often. Games where nearly every person you talk to walks up to you and says, "Hey, I know how to play that one," with a smirk of confidence and desperately trying to make friends with people. I've been there. Nearly everyone has played Wii Sports, and if you haven't, you either don't care about video games a whole lot, or you just haven't gotten around to it. At the time of this video's making, Nintendo recently announced Nintendo Switch Sports, and after playing a bit of it early, I had quite a bit of fun with it despite the somewhat lack of my precious Miis. So now I've been inspired to take a look back at the other Wii Sports games, because this game made too much money to just be a one-time thing. So I have decided to rank every sport in the series. Why? Because it'll be fun, and I have a lot of nostalgia for this game. Starting with the original Wii Sports, of course. Okay, so since I figured this is a Wii Sports video, I figured it's only fitting to do what most news reporters do. Also, some footage will be using Dolphin Netplay as a heads up. It's hard to have friends over at the moment, so this is the next best thing for getting multiplayer footage. Tennis in this game is really quite basic. You swing when the ball reaches your side and try not to hit it out or let it bounce twice on your side. It's simple, but it's pretty fun. If only I had friends to play it with. Hey, what the heck is this thing? What the hell is that knocking? I'm not used to it. What the fuck is the tarp? What the hell is going on? I'm not used to this. What the fuck? How do I get in? It's so weird. Someone open this thing up. What the hell do I do? It doesn't feel right. What's up, bitch? May I speak now? Yeah, why the fuck are you here? Well, I heard you say, and I quote, "If only I had friends to play it with." So I've come here to be a part of your video and play with you. Guess that does make sense. I'm not very comfortable with you in my room, though. Come on, man, it gets lonely in the bathroom. Not like that, but it gets really fucking boring in there. Because I live there. I guess this could be somewhat interesting. Alright, fine, I'll let you in this once. This is gonna be great. Okay, so do you need a Wii remote, or do you have all that covered? If not, I can go get you one. Oh, don't worry. I've come prepared. Oh, alright, fancy then. Alright, let's play. That's weird. Why do you move exactly the same as me? Well, since I'm somewhat a clone of you, I guess it makes sense that we have the same DNA, meaning that
we can make the same movements at the exact same time since we have the same level of coordination as each other. That's really weird. May I ask, how are you even made or born? Bro, you don't want to know that answer. It's extremely complicated. Are you saying that because you can't remember, or is it because you're too lazy to come up with some kind of convoluted backstory to tell me? How rude. How rude of you to assume. Oh, what the heck? Don't hit it out like that. That's not how you're supposed to play. Oh, come on. What am I supposed to do? The ball was coming towards me. I hit the ball. It was instinctual. Kind of your fault, too, you know. This is pretty fun, though, I gotta admit. Well, that was fun enough. Get out.
It's not super accurate in terms of controls. You really just swing left or right with varying degrees of strength, and if you hit the ball at the right time when serving, you can throw off opponents and spike it really fast. It's fun to play. The training games are alright. The target one is probably my favorite. I think this will sit comfortably in B tier. Tennis isn't really some masterpiece of sports, so any higher than a B would be a bit much in my opinion. Baseball is a bit better. I love all the charm and effects of it, but it's still probably either my least favorite or second least favorite in the package. That doesn't mean it's bad though, far from it. There's more depth to it than tennis. Sure, when you're the batter, it's more so just timing your swings, but when pitching, you can throw different kinds of balls depending on the button you hold to try to fake out your opponents. There isn't a whole lot to do when the ball is hit. It's sort of just hope for the best and pray the AI doesn't mess up. But it's still fun and full of charm, though it does have the worst training minigames in the package though. They really aren't that interesting to me. It's still a solid sport though, even if I suck at baseball no matter how I play it. B tier fits nicely for this. Above tennis though. Okay, now we're moving on to the real good shit. Bowling in Wii Sports is the real showcase of what the Wii Remote can do here. I mean, for how limited the motion tech was at the time, bowling plays exactly how you'd expect, and it's really fun.
Do a crotch throw. Straight ass crotch throw.
A crotch throw?
Put it in between your legs and just swing up.
You asked for it. Alright. You want me to do a baby throw? We're gonna do a baby throw in between the crotch, fool. This is what we're waiting for.
This is a split screen.
In between my pajamas, and we're gonna fucking do it.
Ooh, hey. You do know that you're recording yourself right now and not the game, right?
Son of a bitch.
Also, you gotta love how throwing the ball backwards makes the audience flip out. I always love that. This here is why I love Wii Sports. It's fun, controls well, there's some depth to it, has a lot of charm, and it's very quality. The training games are great too. They're fun to play and each of them feel unique from one another, especially the multi-pin game and spin control. A tier is a pretty safe spot for it, better than the rest of them so far. You wanna know why people speedrun Wii Sports? It's because of golf. This is practically a remake of NES Golf, except way easier since it's in full 3D. Now, golf games are normally very complicated, so they can replicate the feel of how difficult golf can be in real life. But in Wii Sports, it's much simpler, but I still love it. All you really have to do is aim your shot according to what the wind is, and then you swing with the amount of force you want your shot power to be. But if you swing too hard, then your shot's accuracy will go berserk. There aren't really any curve shots you can pull off in this, but it's perfectly fine since I think it does exactly what it needs to do. I still have loads of fun whenever I play this with friends.
Ooh!
Good birdie!
Good birdie.
That's one hell of a recovery. Gravity. Gravity.
The training games are also probably my favorite in the game, especially the target shot. That one's a lot of fun. I think this one also sits in a comfortable A tier. It's not mind-blowing, but a lot of fun still. Alright, so boxing is the only sport that requires players to use the nunchuck. This does mean it's a bit harder to get multiple people in on the action for this one, but I mean, hopefully it'll be worth it. And it absolutely fucking is. Boxing is the absolute shit, the apex of Wii Sports. Forget fighting games with multiple button combinations just to pull off one simple attack I don't even understand. You take a Wii remote and a nunchuck, and you just beat the ever-loving shit out of the other Mii character. Of course, it isn't just a slap fest, you do have to block and dodge opponent attacks, but man, everything is so satisfying and the sound design is so crunchy and the visual effects are spectacular. Plus that atmosphere really enhances the experience. Wii Sports Boxing is fucking hype as shit. Forget Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, this is where it's fucking at. Also, I love how knocking out opponents sends them into a ragdoll phase. It's really funny. The training games aren't as exciting, of course, but they're still fun and they utilize the features of boxing well. I like punching all the sandbags and dodging the tennis balls. Also, I can't forget, if you beat all the CPU opponents by yourself that progress in difficulty, you face off against Matt, the champion of boxing, and he's basically the final boss of Wii Sports. He's also the person in all of the boxing training minigames and makes several appearances in other Wii games, and he will fuck your shit up! He is the Wii Sports god. He is a force to be reckoned with, and god damn it, he's beautiful. All of this brings boxing up to an S tier. This game was where I was feeling the feelings of, oh yeah, I really dig Wii Sports, all over again. And those were all of the games in the first Wii Sports. Not a whole lot to get into, but this is the first game in the series, and it came bundled in with the console, so I can't expect too much. Plus all of these sports are really replayable, so that definitely elevates this game.
And then, since people were forced to buy Wii Sports with the waggle stick, we got a sequel a few years later.
Wii Sports Resort. I've sunk many hours into this game when I was younger. Wii Sports Resort does exactly what a good sequel needs to do. It takes the original sports count and more than doubles it. You may think this makes the game feel a lot more quantity than quality. Not necessarily, but there are some sports here that I do think are lesser than the worst sports in the first game. When you first boot up the game, you're treated to a tutorial based on skydiving, which is one of the sports, but we're just gonna go in order here. I think most people who play Wii Sports Resort for the first time will immediately gravitate towards sword fighting, and for good reason. I think that not only is sword fighting a great showcase of what the Wii Motion Plus accessory can do, but it's also one of the best sports in the game, if not the best one. It's pretty simple. You engage with your opponent in a sword fight to knock each other off the platform and into the water, but it's really well tracked and it's a lot of fun. You can also block by holding the B button and holding your sword in a certain direction. It almost makes me think of this as like a prototype to Skyward Sword in a way. This game is very simple, but it has a lot of depth to it, which is exactly what I love to see in a sport in this series. They removed the training games in this one, but there are still some side modes in most of the sports, and I'm a huge fan of Speed Slice, which A, has Matt in it, and B, is a fun game where you compete to see who can slice each object in the correct direction the fastest. And then there's another mode where you go on a journey and slice through a bunch of less difficult Miis to slaughter every single one that gets in your way. Listen, the base game alone was enough to elevate this to peak quality in Wii Sportsery, but that on top of the other modes lanes this one into one of the easiest S tiers. Also, they're bringing this back in Nintendo Switch Sports, and I think it's really cool that they add... Wait a minute, I can't talk about that game. Thanks, Nintendo. I really want to speak positively about your product, but you're too busy hiding all of its shortcomings.
Okay, I need to stop talking about Nintendo Switch Sports. Let's move on to the next sport before I go even crazier.
Now, how do you top such a fantastic first impression? You don't. Okay, let's give this a fair shot. Wakeboarding is interesting in premise, and it is pretty fun, but I just don't really think it's that great. There are multiple maps, but honestly, I just don't find this one too fun to come back and replay. You ride on a wakeboard and pull off as many stylish tricks as you can within the time limit, and my favorite thing about this sport is the announcer.
Whoa! Looks great! Wow! Nice! Whoa! Looks great! Yeah! Great air! Wow! Nice! Whoa! There it is!
Landing tricks is satisfying, but honestly, it's incredibly weird how this works. After a while of doing many tricks, sometimes it feels near impossible to land a trick without messing it up, and I don't know what it is I'm doing wrong. Another video I watched brings up a good point of maybe having a meter that shows how accurate you are to landing correctly, and I think that would definitely improve this sport. But even then, this one just isn't the best to come back to. It's satisfying and all, but it lacks the depth that some of my favorite sports have. So I'm afraid this is going to land in my first C tier. It's not bad, but I just have little reason to go back to it.
Or, you know, maybe I just suck.
Now I'm coming in with a hot take. I don't think Frisbee is that great either.
Oh shit, it's the Frisbee squad. People who think that Frisbee from Wii Sports Resort is only just average or on their most wanted list. I gotta hide. Luckily, I know just the thing. I could have sworn I heard somebody complaining about Frisbee from Wii Sports Resort. That's very odd. It must have just been me. Well, back to my shelter. Nailed it.
It's well made, don't get me wrong. The Frisbee throwing is very accurate, but it feels like it boils down to a simple target game, which is fine, but I just don't think it's as fun as some of the others. When you're halfway through, the game throws some balloons to score you some extra points, which is interesting, but I just don't really find it too amazing. Also, Frisbee Golf is here, which is quite a nice addition. You throw multiple types of Frisbees to make it through the course, but honestly, I just prefer regular golf over this. I'm coming in hot and giving it a C tier. It's pretty good and a decent bit of fun the first go around, but I just don't really feel like going back to it all that much compared to the other sports. So 3 of these games require the nunchuck in order to play, and archery has probably the best use of it in the game. I actually really like archery in this game. You participate in 4 rounds across 3 levels of increasing difficulty in a round of bow and arrow shooting at a faraway target. It's very simple, but like sword fighting, very quality. I like the aiming system where you have to draw back the Wii remote or nunchuck and use the other to aim your shot, and the longer you hold it, the more accurate it'll be. Unless if you hold it for too long where it just cancels your shot altogether. Of course, you have to not only pay attention to how your shot will curve downwards, but there's also a set amount of wind at play similar to golf. What's really interesting about this game though is that for some levels, there are secret faraway objects that you can shoot, and they're really hard to hit, but if you can hit them, you get an automatic 10 points. It's really cool how you can decide whether you want to try and go for the main target or shoot the super far away still object for maximum points. Plus, it's also just really cool getting a 10 plus in the first place. Archery gets an A tier. There isn't any side content to it, but it's fun enough just playing on the 3 separate maps across the island. Interesting how they wait until the Tropical Resort game to add in basketball, but better late than never. How is it though? It's not amazing, but it's still some good fun. You start off in a 3-point challenge to try and score as many 3-pointers as possible, but then you can do a 3-on-3 after you unlock it, which is a lot more enjoyable, but it's not as in-depth as you'd expect. But for Wii Sports, it's probably about as good as you could hope for. It's not super action-packed, it's a lot more patient. You take turns trying to score and defend with the other opponent team, and you can pass to your teammates and try to score a point by pressing B, which gives the offense an opportunity to score points, and for the defense to prevent them from scoring by sacrificing the state of their physical face by jumping straight into the ball. Like, shit, that looks painful. There's not a lot of control in terms of movement. If you do nothing with the Wii Remote, you'll move backwards into the 3-point area to try to score a 3-pointer, but if you shake faster, then you can try to move up to pull a slam dunk in the blue area, which is always a lot of fun to do. Also, the defense can steal your ball by shaking the Wii Remote the right time. If you shake too much though, you'll fall over, which is an open opportunity for a slam dunk. I like playing this mode and it's good fun, but I'm going to put it in B tier because I feel like the controls can be a bit wonky at times. It's good for what it is, but I don't think it lives up to the hype of a boxing or a sword fighting or even a golf or a bowling. Table tennis is miniature Wii Sports Tennis. Okay, not exactly. This time it's a 1v1 instead of a 2v2, but the controls are much more accurate, well-tracked, and way more fun to use. It's also much faster paced since you're playing with a tiny ball on a table than a big tennis field. Now, if the opponent hits an inaccurate shot, you can return it with a power shot with a nice red trail behind it. The sound design is really fucking good in this game. I love the nice taps of the ball when you hit it back and forth, and I love the crunchy feeling when you hit a powerful shot. Oh, and I also love it when the opponent does a fucking dodge roll to try and hit the ball. It's fucking hilarious. Like, geez, it's table tennis. I didn't know we were playing Dark Souls. Like, shit, man.
And you know me. I'm great with dodge rolls.
Oh, and there's also a fun side game where you hit a bunch of balls back that are being tossed at you, and occasionally there's a soda can you can knock over for extra points. Originally, I was going to put this in B tier since it isn't much more than a simpler version of tennis, but honestly, I think this is a really good one. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I'm feeling generous about it today. So they did in fact bring back 2 sports from the first game, and I'm glad golf is here. They added an extra 9 brand new holes for the full 18-hole experience, and it's great for all the reasons that the original Wii Sports Golf was great, but I think this controls even better than the original. Now you can curve your shot by tilting the Wii Remote at an angle during your swing, which is a nice new addition, even if it does make hitting accurate straight shots harder. Now, the only downside to this is that this is less speedrunnable than the first one, because if you hit a really good shot, a replay will appear.
Ugh, this golf game is like 1.2 frames slower than the last golf game. Fuck this game. It sucks a lot of dick.
But nah, the only thing that's unfortunate is the loss of the training games, but it's not too big of a deal since we already have the first Wii Sports for that. Honestly, aside from the replay thing, I think this is the definitive Wii Sports Golf experience, so I'm feeling generous enough to slap it in the S tier. Just a beautiful dish for Wii Sports Golf enthusiasts, and it's leagues better than Mario Golf Super Rush. I am not sorry. And now the other sport returning from the first game. And of course, they had to bring bowling back. It's a classic. Okay, first things first. Wow! Okay, good, they've passed the check. This one doesn't really have any special new additions. You can now have the ball automatically be thrown instead of it being thrown manually, but I like the manual option more. There's now a 100 pin mode where all 10 rounds are 100 pins instead of the number of pins gradually increasing in the first game. And it is a good load of fun alongside the returning spin control. But other than that, it's basically just the same thing again. And it is really solid, so we are going to play it safe and slap into A tier once more. It's hard to say whether this or the original is better, but I guess Resort is better on a technical level due to the enhanced controls. Power Cruising is the game I always forget is on the package. Not because it's bad, it's just kind of here. It requires the nunchuck and you need to power cruise. through all of the gates to make it to the goal. And you'll earn more points the faster you enter each gate, and depending on if you pass through the ring in the center when it's available. It's fine, I like it more in wakeboarding, but it doesn't really feel like anything special. It controls alright, and it can be fun getting a good score in, but I'm just kind of feeling C tier on this one. Though it is great when you jump really high off a wave, that's always good fun. Is it too late to apologize to power cruising? Damn it. Canoeing is kind of the low point of Wii Sports Resort. There's a 4-player mode you could try out if you have 3 other friends willing to play Wii Sports Resort with you. But I don't. But even then, I think everyone would be running out of the room upon the sight of canoeing, because this one is not that fun. You go and finish the course as fast as you can, or at least get as far as you can before the time's up. That's it. It controls fine, there's plenty of content in it, trying to unlock the harder difficulties and whatnot, but it's really just okay. I'm leaning in between a high D or a low C, but honestly, it's not bad, so I'm gonna set it at the bottom of the list so far in C. Maybe multiplayer's better, but I couldn't try that out. Now here's an interesting one. Cycling as you pedaling across several locales of the island to race to the finish. Now, I'm honestly not the biggest fan of this one personally, but it is good. It's the last game that requires the nunchuck, and you must pedal your way to the finish as fast as you can. But not too fast or else you'll run out of breath and have to drink some water. It has excellent music that changes depending on how close to the end you are or how much breath you have remaining. I really like the whole atmosphere of this sport. It feels like you're on a big biking journey to your destination, and you even have a guide tuning into your radio to give you tips. And you could play these races individually or in a Grand Prix to come in first. I was so close to getting in first, but I got passed at the last second. Cycling is definitely good, but it isn't really my personal cup of tea. I'll give it a B rank just to be safe. It's a solid one, just not my favorite. And now to cap off the package, we have Air Sports. Skydiving is the tutorial of the game, but you can go back to it and try to get a high score by catching as many Miis as you can on your way down and getting good photos. At the end, you'll need to fly through the hoops to get in a big group photo and begin parachuting. It's a neat tutorial and a great showcase of the Motion Plus. I also really like the skydiving animation. It's just fun to move around this one, but it isn't the creme de la crop of Air Sports. Island Flyover is the real deal. This is an excellent last sport. You control a plane much like a paper airplane and fly around the island to explore every corner looking for these eye points, as I like to call them, to get great exposition on the world of Woohoo Island. This is something special. It is super fun exploring every inch and grabbing as many eye points as possible. The more you get, the more stuff you unlock, like changing the time of day, adding balloons to the mix, changing your airplane type. It is the peak of this game's single-player content. Leave it to them to put a damn collectathon in the sequel to Wii Sports. The only issue I have with this mode is that there is a timer, and there's no way to turn it off. It is a neat challenge to get as many eye points as you can, but even after you get all of them, I just want to explore, not just care about anything and roam free. Sort of like real life. There's also a dogfighting mode, which is great, but I haven't played it in years since I don't have any friends to play with, and this game doesn't function for me on netplay for some reason. Despite the one-timer blemish, easy S tier. Skydiving is also fun, but it's Island Flyover that makes up most of the greatness. Oh, and there's also Pilotwings Resort, which takes place on Woohoo Island. I haven't played that game in years, so I don't remember how good it is. Oh, and this was originally going to be in the first game, but it was scrapped. Kinda a neat little bit of history. It's no secret that Wii Sports Resort would improve in nearly every way over the original. It's simply more Wii Sports goodness, with incredible world building too, since each sport takes place in a recognizable location on the map. Seriously, Woohoo Island is one of my favorite locations in gaming, and I'm not going to stop going back to it anytime soon. Wii Sports Resort is a great entry into the Wii Sports series. And then the third game happened!
Hi guys, look. I got another Wii Sports game on the way.
Oh yeah, baby. The Wii Sports series' first leap into HD. I am so excited for what kind of wacky sports they'll be able to come up with, especially with this club theme. Aw man, we gotta get something like billiards, or maybe a return of table tennis, or perhaps darts. Ooh, what if we have something like football with the Wii U gamepad? Don't know how they'd implement that, but it'd be super cool. Aw man, I can't wait. Let's see what these new sports have to offer. Huh? Wait, so there's only 5 sports, and they're all the ones from the first game? Why? Is this supposed to be an HD remake of the original Wii Sports? But now with Wii Motion Plus and online? Okay, not something I would have done, but maybe they saw some cracks they wanted to iron out with the first game. Let's give this an honest shot. This game requires the use of Wii Motion Plus, like I mentioned earlier, so let's see if these sports control any better now that we have advanced technology. Alright, I'm coming in hot, ripping the band-aid off right away. Tennis, in my opinion, is the only sport in this game that feels like an improvement over the original.
Did someone say tennis? Fuck! Man, I really like tennis. I'm really starting to get into this, you know? I'm having a lot of fun with this, you know? This Wii Sports thing. I didn't know sports would be my thing. Why the fuck are you so down? Do you not like sports or something? Only losers don't like sports. You realize you're the one that lives in my bathroom, right? Yeah, well, I wasn't given that option, and I have plenty of activities to do in there. Fuck, this is mind-boggling.
It's basically exactly how it was in the first game, but now the tracking on the tennis racket is leagues better, and some elements of Resort's table tennis are in here too to make things more interesting. I also like the training games a lot more in this one. We've got a ring shot, a whack-a-mole sort of thing that's pretty fun, and a mode where you have to hit the ball as far away from this duck to make it move as much as possible to where the ball landed. Pretty creative, I like these. That being said though, even though I do think this is an improvement over the original, it's still just tennis! So I think a B tier suits it just fine. It's as good as Wii Sports Tennis can be, but nothing masterful. Thank God. Bowling is exactly the same as it was in the original and Resort, whoop-de-frickin-do. I've heard some say the physics are worse, and that could be true, but I honestly don't notice it. This is still the bowling the way you've known it, but with less charm. The training games are great though. We've got this neat mode where you have to go through different stages and score some points by hitting these score multipliers. Another mode where you do your best to complete as many different bowling patterns with 5 lives. And 100 Pin Pro has multiple different arrangements of the 100 pins, and it's really fascinating. Also, regular 100 pin and spin control are back as standard modes, so that's pretty cool too. That means you can play them online. It's still bowling, nothing more, nothing less, A tier all the same. Bowling's great, what can I say? It's hard to mess up the formula. Okay, so before I go on to golf, I just want to say earlier that I mentioned how bowling has less charm than it did before. That applies to the whole game, in my opinion. This is supposed to be an HD version of Wii Sports, but in my opinion, something about it just looks worse. It's mainly the colors. They look much less saturated than they did before. It makes the game look really bland. While the models and resolution may look cleaner, that doesn't mean much to me when the color and charm are missing in this one. So, yeah, I think this looks uglier than the original game. Sorry to say. Oh my. Golf, my poor sweet baby boy. What did they do to you? Okay, so on the surface, you might be looking at this and think, what the fuck, Platinum Warp shit? This looks exactly the same as Wii Sports and Resort. Unfortunately, this is one of the count 'em, two games that require the gamepad to be played. What you need to do is set the gamepad on the floor and point the Wii remote at it and swing the gamepad to hit the ball. This is total baloney because you actually do not need to do that and it functions exactly the same. So if you don't need to do that, then why does this suck? Well, because A, the power meter is only on the gamepad, meaning you have to look at this tiny ass screen to see how your shots are, and B, I swear the controls in this are fucked. I can't tell you what it is, but shots I was able to do no problem in Resort are a massive chore in Club. I'm swinging as hard as I possibly can, and I can't even hit an inaccurate shot if I tried. And putting is the worst. In order to even slightly tap that ball in, you can't just ease it in. No, you gotta slam that fucker in with force, which either barely hits it at all, or you hit it way too far. I cannot do well in golf to save my life. Also, a quick side note, this sound effect is me recalibrating the motion controls each time I swing. Yeah, I had to do it that often. This extends to my friends too. We noticed we were playing noticeably better in the first two golf games, so this one is just absolutely fucked. The training games are good once again though. I like the new target mode and the bingo thing is fun, but it doesn't mean much to me when this tacky gamepad shit is slapped on. I didn't want to have to do this, but we have our first stinker of the day. Slapping golf from Club in a D tier. I had a bad time with this one, and unfortunately this won't be the last time we see this rank. Still better than Super Rush though. Baseball also requires the gamepad, but thankfully in a much more creative way. Swinging is... I feel like it's less accurate than the first game, but it's not too big of a deal since it's mainly just timing anyways. But for the pitcher, that's when the gamepad shines. See, when pitching, you use the gyro controls to aim where you want to throw the ball towards, and you fill up a power gauge by holding the button corresponding to what type of ball you want to throw, and release it right when it's full, and try to score those strikeouts. If the batter hits the ball, then the gamepad player has to catch the ball by holding the gamepad up to where the ball is going to land by matching the rings, and then bam, batter out.
Ah, crap, sorry, Ma. I'm just playing Wii Sports Club baseball.
It's the creative way to make the pitching experience better in my opinion. But still, the batting portion is kinda so I don't know if I'd say this makes baseball any better or worse. It's just a lot more creative in my opinion, even if it makes the pace of the game a bit slower. The training games are better though. The home run game is back, but we also have a game where you have to shatter walls by timing our bats, and a pitching game where you have to throw the ball at item boxes and then catch whatever item is in there. It's good stuff, but that doesn't save it from being anything higher than a B tier in my opinion. I like the attempt to make it better, but I just feel samey about it with the original. Okay, finally, the king has returned. Boxing is back and, you need 2 Wii Remote Plus controllers to play this one. You can play this with one controller, but you don't have the option of using the nunchuck, and they didn't even balance it out for those who don't have another controller. Like, what? That's so stupid. We're already off to a bad start, but surely these Wii Remote Plus controllers make the boxing more accurate, right? Well, no, it doesn't. It controls a lot worse. For some reason, you can't separate your hands, even though that was mainly just for making funny poses. It's much slower, and you stop moving whenever you punch. It's just much less pleasant. The sound design is fine. I like the original's crunchiness a lot more, but hitting the opponents where it hurts is still satisfying enough. But what's odd is that if you get hit enough times, looks like it's minigame time. Dodge those punches until you regain consciousness. Look out, you're vulnerable, don't let them hit you. It just doesn't feel seamless anymore. It feels tacky and slow. And where's my ragdoll physics? I do like the in-between round cutscenes though, they're cute. And I would love the training games here, but the controls just ruin them for me. I can try to be as accurate as I can with these curve punches, but they just won't come out fast enough. They feel really delayed. I am so sorry, boxing, but I have to slap you into D tier. There's no way it should have turned out like this. This isn't just nostalgia talk either, by the way. I want these sports to be better in Club, but most of them are just inferior despite them using much better technology. Wii Sports Club was just an unnecessary game. In concept, it sounds cool to have an HD remake of Wii Sports, but I'd rather just play the original at the end of the day because a lot of these just feel mediocre to play. Despite the shitty frame rate, I do like being able to play online though. That's pretty nice, and the whole leaderboards and club mechanics are pretty neat, I guess, but it's unfortunate to leave this series on a rather bitter note. Of course, this is just my ranking of the games in Wii Sports. Some people may enjoy these more or less than I did, but this is more so how I feel about all of them. Club was just kinda okay, but hopefully Nintendo Switch Sports picks up that slack, though the free content update bullshit is not a good look for the game. In the end though, this is a series I hold very near and dear to me. These games aren't masterpieces by any means, but I have a lot of nostalgia for them, and they they sure do remind me of the good old days of Nintendo. Golly. But I still play these games to this day because I know I can just jump in and have a fun and simple time with them. I mainly just love the charm. Mii's are some of my favorite custom character creators to this very day, and I can just tell there was a lot of heart put into the first two games despite them basically being glorified tech demos. I will always miss this simple era of Nintendo, and who knows, maybe Nintendo Switch Sports will strike something in me that I haven't felt in a long time. But goddammit, long live Matt, the god of Mii's. I swear, I better see every single one of you play as a Mii in Nintendo Switch Sports, or else I'm gonna make like a golf game and have a goddamn stroke!
Okay, I really gotta end this before this gets any crazier. So, those were my thoughts on all the sports in Wii Sports. Let me know what your rankings are in the comments. I am tired after playing all those sports, man. And I gotta hurry because I have like a dating training in like 5 seconds. Ah yes, Platinum Warpstar was it. Thank you very much for coming today. Let's see. Okay, this will be an interesting one. First things first, what do you do when a woman tells you,
Nice car.
Wait, before you go. Nice computer you've got here. Anyway, before you go, I would like to quickly announce that I have recently launched a new Discord server. I figured it'd be very interesting to announce this here so that way I can maybe get some people who are interested to join, and we can do a lot of fun activities. We can talk about a lot of stuff, or a lot of game stuff, about Wii Sports. We can talk about a lot of different things, and it would be great to have you all in the community. I've been trying to do this Discord thing for a while now, but it hasn't really worked out the best in the past. So yeah, check out the link in the description if you want to join the Discord, and I'd be happy to have you. Who knows, maybe we could have some public voice calls sometime or something. Anyway, thank you all for watching the video, and I will see you all next time.